welcome back to my Leaf the Week Behind stitch series for 2025. So this video is going to be all about leaves for May, and that was week 17, 18, 19, and 20. Plus there is 5 Saturdays in May, so we're going to do week 21 also in this video, and it's going to be long. This is week number 17. We're going to talk about this one first. So let me show you what we're going to do to stitch this one. Here is the leaf that we're going to work on today. I'm using Eleganza Pearl Cotton. This is a Sue Spargo limited edition. It is EZM 56. This thread comes in a size 8, which is the one we're using today, and it also comes in a size 5, and you can get it on my website. It's a very pretty color. So we're going to use this. We're going to start out by making some French knots, and we're going to use this Milliner's 3. This is the small one, and you use a Milliner's 3 with a pearl cotton size 8. We're going to make a series of French knots going around the outside of this leaf on the leaf itself. After we do that, we're going to switch to a chenille 24 needle, and then we're going to stitch some little fly stitches along the edge. So we are going to come up to the top of our work to do our French knot. And as I've said before, you can wrap your French knots once, twice, or 3 times, depending on the size that you want. We're going to do 2 times. That's usually the average, so we're going to just do it 2 times. I've brought my thread to the top of my work. I'm going to wrap it twice. I'm going to take it to the back. Whoops, let me try that again. I'm going to take it to the back right next to where I came out, just like that. I like to get my thumb right next to the needle, and then I'm going to pull it through, and it makes a little knot. So I'll do it a couple more times, and then we'll move on to the next stitch. And I'm just spacing these out about 1/8 to 1/16 of an inch. I'm going to keep going here. Get underneath my linen sampler here. I keep hitting my rings on the table, so it looks like that. We'll do it one more time. Bring our needle to the top. I'm going to wrap it twice. Take it down right next to the emerging thread. I make sure that your thread, your wraps are to the bottom of your needle here, and then just hold on to it and pull it on through. And it makes a pretty little knot. So I will, I'm going to stitch these later, but I'm going to go ahead and stitch the fly stitch, and you can do the rest of this part on your own, but I think you get the idea. I'm going to do little fly stitches in the background close to my leaf. Now, one thing to keep in mind, I'm left-handed. I can stitch either direction, clockwise or counterclockwise. It doesn't really matter which direction you go. Go the direction that feels good to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my thread to the top of my work a little bit, about 1/8 of an inch away from the leaf, the base of the leaf. And I'm going to take a little stitch right across, and at an angle, I'm going to come up to the top, and I want to make sure that thread is behind my working thread, and just pull it closed just like that, and then you have to anchor the stitch. I'm not making any legs on this fly stitch, I'm just stitching really close to the edge. So the next stitch, I'm going to come up. I like to just come up right next to the first stitch. You could go across and then make the V. I don't think it really makes a difference. I like doing it this way. I've done it both ways. And I'm just going to take a little bite, and I'm going to pull it through, and then I'm going to anchor the stitch really close. Just like that. And I'll do it again for you. going to come up. I'm going to go across at an angle. Pull it close. If you noticed, I'm kind of watching my tension. I'm not pulling it too tight. And that's how you make the fly stitch. So you're going to stitch this all the way around. You're going to do your French knots all the way around, and that will complete week number 17. I'm not going to do this. We're going to move on to the next leaf, and that will be number 18. This is leaf number 18. We are going to stitch a fly stitch along the right hand side of this leaf, and we're also going to stitch a Portuguese knotted stem stitch along the edge. And that's about it for this one. We don't have any cotton overlay, so let me show you how to get started. This is the leaf that I've chosen on my linen project. I'm going to be using this silk straw. This is by Silk Road Fibers, and the color is lime. And yeah, it looks like a rat's nest, but it's not tangled. I keep it in a little bag. And then I'm going to use this chenille, I think it's a 22 or a 20. I like this needle, so we're going to use that and stitch up the fly stitch. And we're going to do a vertical fly stitch. I'm going to try to keep these fly stitches a little on the small side as I work them, but you can do it any way you like. But what I like to do is I like to practice keeping my stitches a little bit small for this project. So I'm going to take a little fly stitch right here, and then I'm going to come back down, and I'm going to come out on this side. And if you noticed, I just had a small piece of this thread, and I want to kind of use it up. So I'm going to stitch as much as I can before I have to reload my needle. And you might think that the silk straw is hard to work with. You think, when you feel it, it's kind of stiff. But as you stitch it through your fabric, it softens up. It's really nice to work with. So I'm just going to keep going and making my stitches on the small side. I don't know if you've ever done this. Talking and stitching don't always go together. I think my stitches are much neater when I'm not trying to explain what I'm doing. I don't know if you ever have that issue, but we're going to keep going. And I'm going to just kind of curve around here to curve along the side of this leaf so you can see what I'm doing. Just like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go all the way down here, and I'm going to come back, and then we're going to talk about the Portuguese knotted stem stitch. To keep things real with everybody, I just wanted to show you what I've been stitching, and I don't like it. If you don't like something, take it out. I don't take out a lot of stitches because it is folk art and it's just not supposed to be perfect, but sometimes I do things and I just really don't like it. It's okay to take it out. I do it. I think other people do it. Maybe some people don't admit to doing it, but just as a, I don't know, just keeping it real, I'm taking this out. And the reason why is because I stitched this and I really liked it, and then I changed my thread to a new length. And I kind of just got off of, I don't know, my symmetry of what I liked doing, what I was doing on the leaf. I didn't like it. So I'm just going to take it out and re-stitch it. There's nothing wrong with doing that. I think I've come to the end here. Maybe not. Maybe so. Maybe one more. But I am. I'm just going to pull it out and start again. And just get it how I like it. And it's easy to do, especially with the fly stitch. So if you don't like something, go ahead and start over. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Nobody's going to judge you. Now we're going to stitch the Portuguese knotted stem stitch. I'm going to be stitching this left-handed, and I stitch vertically towards me. Now, all of you right-handed stitchers, if you need a tutorial on how to make this stitch, you can go to my YouTube channel and look up Portuguese knotted stem stitch. And I also show left-handed and right-handed stitchers how to make this stitch. And it is time-stamped, so you just look for the timestamp and go to the right-handed portion of it, and then you can get a video. So I'm gonna start by coming up at the top of my work, and I'm gonna take a little stitch like that. And I have my working thread to the left, and I come up to the top just like that. I'm going to take the back of my needle and I'm just going to weave under that stitch once and twice to get the stitch started. So now I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to take another bite. I'm going to come up next to the other stitch. I'm going to pull it through. My working thread is still on the left. Now this time, you're going to take your needle through both of these stitches underneath. So you've got this one I just made, the first stitch right here. You're going to take the back of your needle and you're going to pull it through. And if you need to tighten your stitches, that's okay. Give it a tug. You're going to pull it through once, and you're going to pull it through again. And that makes the stitch. So let's do it again after I untwist my thread here. Oops, geez. Let's try this again. Okay. Working thread is on the left. I'm going to come up right next to the last stitch. I'm going to pull my needle through. I'm going to go from the left to the right, so underneath both of those stitches, once, twice, and I've made the stitch. Let's do it again. Take a little bite. Oops. Go under both of those stitches once and twice. And that's how you make the Portuguese knotted stem stitch. It's actually really easy and very pretty using some silk straw. So let's move on to the next one. Let's talk about week number 19. This is the leaf that I stitched that week, and we are going to make a double threaded, meaning I've threaded the needle double oyster stitch. We're going to do some little French knots, single, and then we're going to just do some chain stitching around the outer edge of this leaf. So let me show you how I did it. For this leaf, I'm going to be using this Wonderfill Easy M Eleganza Pearl Cotton, and it's 1027, and it comes in a size 8 only. Now I kind of wanted my oyster stitches to be on the thick side, so I doubled the thread. So I've got my needle here. I'm using, I believe this is a chenille 20 or 22. I bumped up the size because sometimes I just like a bigger needle. So I've doubled my thread here. I've knotted it at the end, and we're going to start by doing a back stitch down the center. We're going to leave it a little gap here so that we can put an oyster stitch at the top. I'm going to bring my needle to the top of my work. I'm going to take a little stitch just like that, leaving a little gap there at the top. I'm going to come up, and I'm going to take a stitch, and I'm going to do the sewing method. So I'm going to do it just like this. Now, if you get a little blurb, it's not a big deal. Just pull it tight and then make the next stitch. So you're joining these stitches together in a back stitch. You can do the sewing method or you can do the stab method, whichever you like. If you get a little blurb, just use the back of your needle and just go ahead and tighten it. Now, for those of you that like to use the DMC floss, you might have this issue. This is kind of why we like using pearl cotton, is because you don't have to strand anything. But for this particular thread, I just like the color so much, I wanted to double it. Just like that. Make the back stitch. Okay, I'm going to finish this and then I'll come back. Okay, I finished the line of back stitching, and now I'm going to do the oyster stitch. And I'm sort of creating these petals, like kind of like for a flower. So I'm going to come up to the top of my work right here. And then I'm going to take a little stitch right next to the emerging thread, just like that. Then I'm going to wrap it front to back, kind of like in a figure 8. So let's do that again. You're going to wrap it front to back. And this is also for left-handed and right-handed stitchers. You're going to do the same thing. So let's say if you were right-handed, you would do the same thing. You would wrap front to back and hold on to it with your left hand. So you're going to wrap it. You're going to bring it through just like that, and it kind of spreads out a little bit. Then you're going to go down and you're going to weave under that first section here where you've come up to the top, just like that. And if you get a little blurb, just pull it tight. Watch your tension with this. Then you're going to make a chain stitch around this oyster stitch that you just made, sort of like a rosette chain, just like that. Okay, and then you're going to take your needle to the back of your work like that. Okay, I'm going to do another one for you, and this time I'm just going to be quiet. I can stitch better if I'm not talking. Okay, I've made the little stitch. I'm going to take my needle to the back of my work. Kind of makes a little flower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stitch a couple more and then some on the other side, and then we're going to do the chain stitch. So I'll be right back. I've finished the oyster stitches that I wanted to stitch. Now let's stick with the chenille needle and do a chain stitch around the outside edge. So I'm going to bring my needle to the front of my work here, and I'm going to do a chain stitch. And when we talk about chain stitching around the leaf, unless the instructions tell you differently, you're going to be stitching in the background close to the applique. Sometimes you might have other instructions, but right now you're going to be stitching close to the applique. And I'm just going to do a few chain stitches, and then we're going to move on to the French knot. We've done all of this in previous videos, so I'm not going to sit here and stitch the whole thing, but we are going to practice making our stitches small. I've said this before in the other videos. Part of the leaves doing this project is to practice your stitches. And if you make these chain stitches a little on the small side, they look much neater. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to chain stitch all the way around, and then we're going to do some oyster stitches. Some French knots. So that's really about it for this one. Chain stitch around, and let's do some French knots. I finished my chain stitch. Now we're going to do some French knots. We're going to do a 2-wrap French knot in the background of this leaf. We're going to do it randomly. And for those of you who are just joining or maybe skipping around the videos, when you do any wrap stitches, you want to use a milliner's needle. And this is what it looks like. The eye of the needle is the same width as the shaft, so that when you wrap stitches, you can pull your needle through, and it's supposed to pull much easier, which it should. And if you've ever done French knots with a chenille needle, you might end up getting a little blurb or a bubble. So we always recommend that you use a milliner's needle. So we're going to bring our thread to the top of our work. We're going to wrap 2 times, bring our needle to the back really close to the emerging thread, but not in the same hole, because if you go back down the same hole, you're going to lose your stitch. So if you've ever been stitching a French knot and you went, oh my God, where did it go? That's because you've stitched down in the same hole. So I'm going to wrap twice. I'm going to go right next door, bring it to the back, pull it through, and it makes a pretty little knot. I'll do it one more time, and then we're going to move on to the last leaf for May. Remember, we have 5 Saturdays in May. Oops, I think I went off camera there. Okay, so now I'm going to pull this through. I can't seem to grab onto it. And now you can see that. So let's look at the next leaf. Here is week number 20. This is the thorn stitch. So let me show you how I'm going to make this stitch on my linen piece. Here is week 20. This is called the thorn stitch. So let me show you how we're going to do this on my linen piece. I've chosen this leaf to work on the thorn stitch. I'm going to be using an Eleganza pearl cotton. This is EZM 34. This is a size 3. We're going to use this as the lay down thread. And then also we're going to use this Eleganza EZM 105. And this is in a size 5. We're going to use chenille 18 needles for both of these. For this thorn stitch, I am going to double my Eleganza pearl cotton size 3. So I've doubled it on my needle, and this is for the center. I'm going to come up at the bottom, and I'm going to lay it down, and I'm going to go across and go back to the back of my work, and then I will weave in my ends a little bit later. So I'm going to do that, but I'm just going to kind of park my needle for just a bit. And my leaf kind of has a little bit of a curve, so I'm just going to kind of maybe curve it just a little bit as I'm stitching this, and I might put a pin in place as I'm stitching the little legs either side. So I've got my other thread here, and I'm going to start the stitch by coming up just to the side here of this leaf, coming up to the top. And then I'm going to go down, making a little bit of a cross, but I'm going to go underneath and take a little bite, just like that. And bringing my needle through. Okay. And then I'm going to come up and sink my needle on this side, but then I'm going to go down on the other side again to start the stitch again. And it makes a little cross like that. So I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to come down just a little bit. Just like that. And then I'm going to come across, and you can use your thread kind of as a guide where you're going to go back down on the other side. Come out like that. You can put them close together, you can put them farther apart, whatever look you're trying to get. I think maybe for this one, I might stitch it a little bit farther apart. The original one is a little bit closer together. Just like that. Come across. Just like that. Go along the other side. Okay, and I'm going to keep going until I go all the way to the end, and then I'll come right back. Okay, so I've done the thorn stitch here, and I've come all the way down to the end, and I've kind of spread it out. You can put them close together, you can spread them out. Now, one thing you should keep in mind is you need to watch your tension on the back, because you are traveling a bit and you don't want your leaf to buckle. So be mindful of that and keep your tension just kind of taut, but not too tight. So I decided also that I'm gonna couch these little legs down. So what I'll do is I will go back and I'm gonna couch right over the top of those little legs. I like the variegated color, so it'll be kind of fun too. So you're gonna go up to the top and you're gonna go back down, and then you can stitch them down in place. You can do one or two. I'll probably just do one. Couch each side in place, and then you've got your thorn stitch. I will finish this and then we'll move on to the next one. Here is leaf 21, week 21, and we're going to do a series of drizzle stitches. I cast on 10 stitches and then I did some smaller ones here and there. I had the idea of maybe filling the whole leaf in, and then I got bored. So you're just going to do a series, however many you want, in the center of the leaf. Then you're going to couch the edge, and we're going to pick some pretty colors and work on the linen piece. Here's the leaf that I chosen for number 21. We're going to be using an Eleganza Pearl Cotton. This is Easy M1009. We're going to also be using a milliner's size 3 needle for this thread. And then when we get to the outside part where we're going to do some couching, I'm going to use this soft cotton. It's painter's thread. It's Mackie 101. It's very pretty. It's got a lot of fun colors. This is hand painted, so when you buy a spool of this, it could look completely different from other dye lots. So it's almost like getting a whole new colorway. I'm going to use an 18 chenille needle. So let's get started with the drizzle stitches. I'm going to go ahead and start in the center. I'm going to make a few drizzle stitches, and then I won't do the entire thing because the video would be too long, and then we'll move on to the edge. So to do a drizzle stitch, you're going to bring your needle to the front of your work, just like that. And then you're going to come right back down, but right next to your emerging thread, but not in the same hole. Otherwise, your stitch will fall through the other side. Now, to make this stitch, you will need to unthread your needle, and you're going to do a series of cast-ons. If you're a knitter, it's a backward loop cast-on. If you're not, then you're going to learn how to cast on. So you're going to take your thread and you're going to wrap it around your finger, and I turn my finger facing down and it makes this little loop. And you want your needle to kind of go through that loop, and you're going to pull it tight. So let's do it again. You're going to wrap it around your finger, turn it away from you, and wrap it. Just like that. And we're going to count 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'll show right-handed in this next part. So I've got 10 on my needle, and then I need to rethread the needle. Just like that. And then you're going to pull your needle to the back of your work. And that's what makes the drizzle, just like that. Show you from the side there. Okay, and you're going to make a whole series of these. Now the stitch is made the same way. If you're right-handed, you're just going to come up to the top of your work. Oops, and I've already unthreaded the needle. You're going to go right back down next to it, next to the emerging thread. And so if you're right-handed, you're going to cast on the same way. You're going to wrap the thread around your needle, turn your finger down, and then I use the other hand, or my left hand, to kind of get the needle to go under the loop or through the loop, and then you're going to pull it tight. So we're going to do it again. Wrap it around, point it down, put your needle through the loop, and tighten it. It doesn't have to be tight. You just want to push it all the way down and have it close to the needle. So this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now we're going to rethread the needle. And then pull your needle to the back of your work. Okay, just like that. So I'm going to do a series of these like I did in the other picture of the other leaf, and just kind of go down and just make a nice little series of drizzle stitches. But for now, we're going to go and work on the side. Before we move on to the next part, I have a little tip for you when you're doing these drizzle stitches. Unthreading your needle and rethreading it can get a bit tedious as you're working this cluster. So I would recommend that you have a needle threader sitting next to you. You might thank me later. And use your needle threader because it's very handy. And I don't think enough of us utilize such a handy little tool. So have it close by as you're doing the drizzle stitch. So now let's talk about doing the couching part. So we're going to couch. I've got my needle threaded here, and all I'm going to do is kind of come up to the top of my work here at the bottom of the leaf. And this is our lay down thread. So we're just going to lay it down around the leaf. And what I like to do is just park my threads, park my needle, just like that. And now I'm going to take my couching thread, and I've put my thread in this size 8. Moving on, let's do the couching part of this leaf. I've brought my soft cotton up to the top of my work here, and I've laid it down next to my leaf, parked my needle just to keep everything in place. I have my Eleganza Pearl cotton here. It's a size 8, and I've also threaded a 24 chenille needle. Couching is super easy. You're just going to come up to the top, just like that, close to the other thread, and then you're going to go straight down across, just like that, and make a little stitch. And then if you want to straighten it out, if it's a little loose, you can do that. So all you're going to do is you're going to come up. You can space them close together, farther apart, however you want to do it. And you're going to come straight down. Now I'm doing the stab method. If you want to do the sewing method, you can come up to the top. Let's come up right here. I'm going to turn my work a little bit. And then you can go straight across and come back out. This is much faster. And you can keep going all the way around until you've couched around the entire leaf. Okay, so that is week number 21 in a nutshell. This is what we stitched for week 22. We're going to work on my linen piece, so let's get started. I almost forgot to tell you what we're going to stitch. We're going to do a series of pistol stitches all the way around this leaf. It has a cotton overlay, and then we're going to finish the stitch with a series of bullion knots all the way around the cotton overlay. This is the leaf that I've chosen this week, and I've got a cotton overlay here with a little beetle. I'm going to use this Eleganza Pearl Cotton. This is EZM 29, size 8. And because we're using a size 8, we're going to use a milliner's size 3 needle. So the first thing we're going to do, I just unthread my needle. I'll be right back. To do the pistol stitch, I'm going to do, I think I'm going to do them fairly close together, but I'm going to come up to the top of my work, just like this, right on the edge of the cotton. I'm going to do a series of pistol stitches, and I'm going to come up to the top of my work like this, bring my needle through, and I'm going to wrap 2 times for this. I'm going to go 1, 2, and then I'm going to go back to the back of my work at the edge of the wool leaf, just like this. Now, if you look, I've got it kind of at an angle, and I don't like that. So let's take it out and do it again. I'm gonna wrap twice. I wanna go straight back down. And it makes a little knot. There's your pistol stitch. So let's do it again. Go under. I'll come up to the top of my work. And as I'm working, I'll be turning my leaf because I like to have my stitches be perpendicular here to the leaf. So I'm going to come up, I'm going to wrap twice, I'm going to go back down, and I'm going to keep going all the way around until I've filled the entire outer leaf in, and then we'll do the next part. So I finished the pistol stitches around the outer leaf, and I've already went ahead and started the next part, which is doing some bullion knots. So I'm going to do bullion knots around this cotton leaf, and we are going to just come up to the top of our work here, and I'm just going to continue on. I'll just show you one, and I think you can figure out the rest. So I'm going to take this stitch in the background close to the leaf itself, and I'm going to wrap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think maybe I'll do 12 this time. I think that's the right amount. So then you're going to pull your needle through and hold it with your thumb, and then fold it over to make a little bullion knot. We do a lot of these in wool applique. Don't forget you're not finished until you take your needle to the back of your work and anchor the stitch down. So this is the last leaf for this month. I think it's the month of May. Oh shoot, yeah. I had to check my notes really quick because I got confused, but this is the last leaf for the month of May. It is, just in case we forgot, it was week 22. So the next video is going to be all about June's leaves, where we will talk about leaves 23, 24, 25, and 26. So stay tuned.